Welcome to Movie Recap, a channel dedicated to those addicted to movies. Our focus is to showcase the best recap of your favorite flick. Sit back, grab your popcorn, and get ready to be amazed by Avatar. A paraplegic Marine dispatched to the moon Pandora on a unique mission becomes torn between following his orders and protecting the world he feels is his home. Spoilers ahead. Marine Jake Sully was disabled during combat. Tommy, his identical twin, had spent the previous 3 years learning how to handle an avatar on Pandora, a planet that humanity had colonized in an effort to harvest the coveted metal unobtainium. When his brother dies, Jake is chosen to assume control of his avatar, a creature with a mix of human and Na'vi ancestry that lives on the planet Pandora. He travels to Pandora using a cryochamber and disembarks wearing an oxygen mask because humans are unable to breathe in Pandora's atmosphere. Jake encounters Dr. Grace Augustine and Norm Spellman, another avatar driver, when he gets to Pandora. Grace is enraged to see Jake there and claims that Tommy, who had prepared for this, is what she needs. She does, however, put Jake in his link, putting Jake's mind in charge of the avatar. When he finally wakes up in his avatar body, he disregards the physician's advice to take it easy at first. Being able to utilize his legs makes him flee out of the facility. Parker Selfridge, who appears to be the invasion's mastermind, meets with Grace. Colonel Quaritch is in charge of the military. Grace is annoyed by Parker's persistent attempts to snoop about in her department, the Avatar program. In a Trudy Chacon-piloted chopper, Jake, Norm, and Grace fly their avatars over the facility's wall. Jake strays from the group as she sends them on their canvassing assignment. He meets a creature that is like a dinosaur here, and it almost attacks him. Grace advises him against shooting the beast since its skin is too thick for bullets. Jake is being attacked by a strange animal that resembles a panther. Jake runs after being yelled at to do so by Grace. He only manages to flee by plunging into a massive waterfall from a cliff. He is no longer a part of the organization, though. While searching for him until it becomes dark, Grace, Norm, and Trudy must adhere to orders not to remain outside after dark. Jake won't be able to spend the night on Pandora alone, Grace worries. Jake is exploring the forest at night when a wide variety of animals are out and about. Neytiri, a Na'vi, is visible sitting on a branch above him. A tiny sea anemone-looking object drops on her arrow just as she is ready to shoot him with it. She does not shoot because this seems to be a sign. Later, Jake discovers himself surrounded by a group of the panther-like monsters that had earlier assaulted him. In the end, he makes an effort to repel them, but just as he is about to fail, Neytiri appears and begins dispatching the monsters with her bow and arrow. Despite her distress about having to take the lives of these helpless animals, Jake expresses his gratitude to her excessively. Jake asks her to teach him self-defense techniques as he pursues her into the forest. They soon find themselves surrounded once more by anemone monsters as she prepares to refuse. On Jake's body, thousands of them perch, leaving Neytiri in a state of shock. She leads him to an area where a number of Na'vi arrive on Pandora's version of horses. Since they are aware that Jake is an avatar in human form and one of the Sky People, they seek to kill him. Neytiri claims that their god Iwa picked him. Nevertheless, they decide to return him to their home tree, where the leaders will make the final decision. Jake first meets Moat and Itukin, the head of this Na'vi clan, who are also Neytiri's parents, at home tree. They are upset with Neytiri for bringing Jake, who affirms that Iwa gave a sign. They agree to let Jake stay under the condition that Neytiri teaches him everything because all he wants to do is learn. She grumbles about having to do this, but her parents' word is law. The group falls asleep and Jake awakens at the base in his human form. His avatar's safety makes Grace and Norm happy, and they question him about the specifics. They are impressed that he managed to blend in among the Na'vi after surviving the attack by the beasts. They want him to try to use this position to pursue a diplomatic resolution. Jake is also met by Colonel Quaritch, who advises him to take advantage of the opportunity to learn about the Na'vi's vulnerabilities so that the military can determine the most effective strategy for defeating them. He threatens that if Jake does this, he will see to it that Jake undergoes an expensive procedure to regain the use of his legs. In a montage, Jake is shown being taught many skills by Neytiri, including how to ride horses and speak Na'vi. They are connected mentally by the braids that the Na'vi wear, which entwine with the horse's reins. Neytiri makes Jake try again and again since he keeps falling off the horse. Grace's avatar is allowed to visit because of Jake's influence with the clan, which he helped to win over. Also attempting to teach him how to execute a precise kill is Neytiri. As soon as he does, she declares that he is prepared while praying over the dead. She leads him to the home of her banshee, a bird that resembles a pterodactyl that she can also levitate on account of their braided link. Neytiri claims that, unlike horses, each Na'vi only ever rides one banshee for their entire lives, and Jake must locate his. To reach the banshee's home, the two of them and a few other Na'vi scale a massive skyscraper. Neytiri informs Jake that he will be able to tell which banshee is intended for him because although the others will flee in terror, Jake's banshee will actively want to murder him. In an effort to forge the first connection, Jake confronts a banshee who can match his strength. After coming close to death, Jake finally understands and goes on his first ride. He claims in the voiceover that flying is his purpose and that horses are not for him. Neytiri follows him on her own banshee, and they engage in a lot of passionate eye contact. The Leonopteryx, a massive dragon-like monster that is easily 5 times as big as a banshee, suddenly attacks them. Flying to the ground, they manage to shake the Leonopteryx off. When Jake's avatar falls asleep, he always awakens in his human form. When he is human, he creates video logs in which he discusses his activities on Pandora. He keeps one set of logs for Grace and sends another set to Colonel Quaritch. The Colonel becomes worried that Jake's head isn't in the game when he doesn't send one to Quaritch for some time. Jake claims that he simply needs more time before they assault. He is hoping to work out some kind of diplomatic compromise. When they return to Pandora, Neytiri leads Jake to a holy site where the Na'vi can communicate with Iwa and hear the memories of their ancestors. By bringing Jake there, Neytiri claims she has strengthened his place in the tribe and he will formally become one of them. She suggests several women for him to choose from and says he can choose anyone. He claims to have already made up his mind, but this woman must also make up her mind about him. They make love after Neytiri claims to have. Neytiri claims that by doing so in Iwa's presence, they were permanently mated. They fall asleep. The following morning, Neytiri awakens to the sound of a bulldozer cutting through the forest. The Iwa trees are being felled by the arrival of humans. In pain, Neytiri is yelling and pleading with them to stop. Jake is not in his link to the base and is still dozing off. He must eat before joining again, thanks to Grace. Before the bulldozer runs them over, he finally connects at the ideal moment. In a desperate attempt to halt the bulldozer, he waves his arms frantically. The machine briefly stops before restarting. Bulldozer operation is being handled by Colonel Quaritch. In order to stop them from controlling it, Jake gets onto the machine and smashes the cameras. After watching the video, Colonel Quaritch recognizes Jake in it and understands that Jake has changed sides. Everyone at Home Tree is inconsolable about the destruction of Iwa's Valley by mankind. Grace is also present in the form of an avatar. Even though they insist they had nothing to do with it, the Na'vi are upset with them for bringing the Sky People there. Tute, a Na'vi who has never warmed up to Jake, is startled to learn that Neytiri and Jake have made it. Grace is in awe. Colonel Quaritch storms into the connection area at the base and destroys Grace and Jake's links. Quaritch and Parker want to attack Home Tree, which is located on top of Pandora's largest unobtainium deposit, but Grace yells at Parker that they need more time. To try to extricate the Na'vi from Home Tree, they consent to letting Jake and Grace team up once more. As they are aware that Colonel Quaritch and Parker won't hold off on their attack, Jake and Grace visit Home Tree to attempt and persuade them to leave. When Jake acknowledges that he was aware of their plans from the beginning, Neytiri breaks down in tears and says she trusts him. She shouts at him to go as he attempts to explain how everything changed and how he fell in love with both her and Pandora. As the military begins to come, Grace and Jake are restrained. The Na'vi respond with ineffective arrows as the airplane begins to blast them. Grace and Jake are released from their bonds by Moat, Neytiri's mother, who explains that if they are genuinely Na'vi, they must assist them. Trudy, who is currently on one of the helicopters, exits after claiming she never agreed to this. The bombs eventually led to the collapse of Home Tree. The military pulls back after Neytiri's father is slain in the conflict. Quaritch destroys Jake and Grace's connections once more. The two of them are put in a cell with Norm while yelling that he is a killer. With the aid of Max, a doctor in the Avatar program, Trudy frees the 3 inmates while bringing food to the prisoners. Max is instructed to stay behind by Jake as they depart because he needs someone he can confide in. When Trudy fires up her chopper, Quaritch notices her and rushes into the hangar to open fire. They are heading to the floating mountains, where they have another link station, and because they are too high in the atmosphere to be detected, they barely get off the ground. Jake notices Grace is bleeding heavily and has been shot as they are in the air. At the link station, Jake makes the decision that he needs to win back Navi's trust. He grabs his banshee and makes the unanticipated decision to try and connect with the Leonopteryx. He is able to teach it, and after the Na'vi have moved, he takes it to the Tree of Souls. They are amazed by him once they understand he trained the beast. Neytiri claims that she once feared for her people but no longer does. The highest expression of love between Na'vi people is, "I see you," which signifies they can see into one another's souls. Jake expresses his gratitude but adds immediately that he needs assistance because Grace is deteriorating. Grace and her avatar are both transported to the Na'vi where Moat performs a ritual to permanently embed Grace's consciousness into her avatar so she would not require linking and would survive this way. Despite all of their entreaties to Iwa, her wounds are too severe, and she passes away. Jake continues by stating that they must rise up and fight because he is aware that the Sky People are preparing to launch another attack. The other Pandora clans must be enlisted, which they do. Radar at the base reveals to Quaritch that the Na'vi population is steadily increasing to nearly 2,000. Jake, Grace, and Trudy receive a video message from Max informing them of their plans to gather and attack the Tree of Souls. While by himself in the Tree of Souls, Jake begs Iwa to aid his people, the Na'vi. Despite his efforts, Neytiri approaches him and declares that Iwa just defends the harmony of life and never takes sides. A hug is exchanged between them. With the arrival of ground forces, the ultimate conflict begins. The Na'vi, mounted on their horses, are seen moving closer and closer on the radar. Jake and Neytiri are among the soldiers on board the military planes that are preparing to launch an attack when they are attacked by Na'vi aboard Banshees, while Norm is on the ground. Because they are battling guns with bows and arrows, the Na'vi on the ground are being wiped out. Damage from those in the air is occurring, but not nearly enough. Trudy is using her own helicopter to attack Quaritch's aircraft, but she gets struck and her helicopter explodes, killing her. In his link station, Norm awakens gasping for oxygen after being shot on the ground as well. After being assaulted by a plane, Neytiri is knocked to the ground in the jungle but lives. Jake tries to communicate with his friends, but he receives no response. Despite being hidden on the earth, Neytiri is surrounded by people. Jake screams at her to refrain from attacking since she will undoubtedly die. She doesn't pay attention and gets ready to fight to the death with her bow when all of a sudden, the humans stop. On the radar, they have seen something else approaching. All of the dinosaur and panther-like beasts from the beginning suddenly assault the humans, who begin dying in large numbers. Neytiri shouts with delight that Iwa paid attention to Jake. Quaritch manages to escape by boarding a huge robot-like shell that combatants can manipulate, preventing Jake from attacking his plane. He collapses to the ground in the woods and starts to wrestle with Jake. The link station where they are standing still has Jake's avatar attached to it. Jake's bed begins to develop a small hole after Quaritch attacks the link station. His human body, which is still attached to his avatar, starts to suffocate as a result of humans being unable to breathe Pandora's air. When Neytiri enters the scene and shoots 2 arrows directly through Quaritch's chest, Jake is still engaged in combat in his avatar form, but Quaritch has him pinned and is about to kill him. She rushes over to Jake after he has passed away, who has lost consciousness as a result of the trauma his human form is going through. He emerges from his link station in his human form once more, but due to his paralysis, he is unable to reach the emergency oxygen mask. He collapses to the ground and loses consciousness. Neytiri tries unsuccessfully to awaken his avatar form. After that, she dashes into the link station and puts Jake's human form's breathing mask on. When he awakens, he can breathe normally once more. As she holds him in her arms, they both murmur, "I see you." In his human form, Jake provides his final video log. He claims that just a small number of the humans were permitted to stay there before being taken back to Earth. He signs off after saying that he can't be late to his own party. The ceremony that Grace attempted to perform is being carried out by Moat and Neytiri at the Tree of Souls. Jake opens his eyes after having his consciousness transformed into his avatar form forever. We hope you enjoyed today's recap of Avatar. Please leave a comment below on what you loved about the movie and why. Be sure to like the video and please don't forget to support our channel by subscribing so you don't miss any amazing content. Until next time, lights, camera, action. We look forward to seeing you in our next video.